This is a lot of stuff. As you can see, we have quite a lot going here today, but actually everything here revolves around this case. This is the Cougar Duoface RGB. It's a mid-tower case that resembles to some degree something like a Be Quiet Silent Bass 802, the one where you get the airflow panel and the non-airflow panel, or just like closed off sound barrier panel included with the case. And this is a similar approach. This is a Cougar case, or the Pro edition of the Cougar case, because it exists in like multiple versions. But this is the Pro edition where, oh my god, did I scratch my table a lot today. So this is the Pro edition where you get the two panels. You have the single panel edition, the dual panel edition, and then the Pro, which has like a slightly different front panel for probably pro feature reasons. And before I get to write the review about it, or before I begin with the review about this case, I wanted to do a first test dive, first build, and we got a whole bunch of components for today. So let's begin by unpacking the case and just taking a look at how it actually looks like out of this cotton box. I will save this one, otherwise a lot of issues will come. Boop. It's a big case. And static discharge. No. Whew, as you can see, okay, this has like a... I have not seen a case with a handle in the top to pull it off, I suppose. But as you can see, this is the white edition. And it also exists in black, and it is glued down. Yeah, this is an issue. Anyway, this is the white edition, and as I can see, the glass panel is installed or pre-installed in the front, and I suppose this here is the mesh panel. Who would have thought? Yep, the mesh panel. Quite big holes, I gotta say, really big holes, and a bit of Cougar company logo in the bottom. And as far as I can see, there is a nylon type mesh behind the glass, so even if I slap this on top, it's not like the dust will just go straight through those big ass holes. No, it's going to get stuck inside that finer mesh. However, even if it is glass in the front, it's not like stupid glass. Thankfully, you have a quite big gap, like I can get my whole finger in between. It's not like these here are completely like choking. To some degree they can breathe. Now by default we have already 4 fans pre-installed. We have 3 CR120W, so W being white probably, and the black one will probably have like B, CR120Bs, but here we got the W fans. So far I have still no clue how quickly they spin or at what their rated whatever is, but they are white, they are RGB, a lot of RGB. Everything here is RGB. Now from the get-go, I can already see the case has a bit of like a quality control, or the general quality already is like, it's okay, but there are things, like for example how the side panel got removed. It's not sticking to the bottom here, it just fell out, which is not the best approach. It doesn't have like hooks where you can grab onto. You saw what happens, and if you do that on not wood, who knows? Maybe the glass would even break. I'm not even sure, and I don't want to try, but can be an issue. Another thing that I can see from my viewing angle up here, I hope you can see it, put it like very near my face so that the autofocus can pick it up, but it's not 100% straight. Like I can see gaps where this mesh filter, where it is glued to the plastic border, there are gaps. It's not extremely straight, which of course you can see once you're above the case, but me looking from this angle, I can see it, and that kind of annoys me. But let's talk about all the stuff that goes into this thing here today. Now, we will begin with platform. We're going Intel, and this time we're going to use, again, the ASRock Z790 Steel Legend Wi-Fi. No particular reason other than there is a lot of white on it, and this is a white case, and it does make perfect sense. Accompanied by a Intel 13700K. Why not a 14700K? Because I have it ready? Well, because we are going to use a RTX 4070, and I don't want anybody to think that I completely undersized the CPU for a gaming rig. That's why we are going 13th gen instead of 14. No other reason. But this is the Zotac RTX 4070. We have used it, I believe, once. I'm not even sure if I ever filmed that, because I made like a video. I built a PC for when I had to leave for a couple of weeks so that I can work on the fly, and I did it inside the Silverstone Milo case, and I slapped this one in there because it was the strongest GPU that still fit without a problem. So I strapped it down because I had to to take a plane, and it was a whole thing to somehow get it with me. But I used this GPU, and I believe I did not use this one even once. So let's say Zotac, it's a new GPU for the channel. Great. One thing that does kinda annoy me, it's a beautiful GPU. I have used it extensively myself, for gaming and for a bit for working, but mostly gaming. The thing is, however, it is very small. I bought it because it was small. However, it's my only RTX 4000 card or any like high-end newer GPU which is white. The only other white GPU I have is like an RTX 3070 Vision, which right now has a waterblock on top, so not usable. And I'm happy with my choice. However, in this case, look how freaking small that thing is. Well, it has to do anyway. We are going to use this GPU no matter what, because it is snow white. And another thing that makes me very happy about this GPU specifically, it doesn't use the NVIDIA Octopus or the 12-volt high power connector. It uses a very regular 8-pin PCIe, which means that I can reutilize my BitPhoenix Alchemy 3.0 braided white cable extensions, making the whole thing look beautiful for once. Great. Then Cougar sent along a couple of other things back with the case, one of which is their power supply, the Polar in 1200 watts, which is also white. Today is a very white theme. And except for it being ridiculously overpowered for what we are going to do with it, it's a platinum rated. So how do they say on the box? The Polar series will reduce the energy waste below 7%. There you have it. Then I wanted to do some tricky things, because I wanted to use the Cougar Forza, the Cougar Forza 135. It is a bit gray, however the motherboard also has some like grayish elements to it, so I think that's going to be fine. However, the fans are not fine, they are black and I don't want that. But thankfully I have a bunch of Cougar MHP 120s, yes, MHP 120s in white, so I'm just going to replace the fans and make out of this a triple fan setup, which allows me, because they are slightly loud on the louder side, they are ridiculously strong, these fans. Just to give you some spec, they are spinning at 2000 RPM only, but they are pushing like 4.24 millimeters of H2O. Like, these are actually radiator fans. Very much radiator fans. However, I'm going to use it for air cooling, and I'm just going to use 3 and reduce the fan speed ridiculously, and then the whole thing will be quiet. That's for one. Then we also got, and that's quite some time ago, but Arctic sent over a bunch of P14 PVM PST ARGBs, but in white. Back then when they were released in white. And I always wanted to use them somehow, and this is the perfect how. Because the back fan spot here is a 120mm Cougar CR120W fan, and I don't want that. So we're going to remove that one, slap one of the P14s in there, because we have a 140 fan spot in the back, and then we are going to slap 2 140s in the top as exhaust, and there you have it. 3 in the front as intake, 1 in the back as exhaust, and 2 in the top as exhaust, and the whole thing should function just fine. I'm pretty sure it will cool down the 13700K really well. Then as a last little thing, third last little thing, a 970 Pro 512 gigs, for the sole reason that this one was using a 14700K and this GPU, so I can now just reuse it or reuse the Windows without a fresh installation. However, we got another thing, because ASRock sent over another kit of RAM. This is the Valkyrie set. Now, I'm a bit sad that the packaging isn't as premium as it was on the Braga, I believe that was called, Braga set. However, they are still beautiful RAM. This is a 32 gigs kit, so 2 x 16 sticks. It's 6400 CL30, it says on the stick, CL32. So it's still quite good, not as good as the other one we got, but still on the strong side. And then for the very last thing, we got a little treat from Arctic that they sent along, which is also white and is going to fit into this whole thing perfectly fine. However, it's an external thing. So we are going to take a look at that mystery component at the end of the video. But for now, let's make the build. This is going to take long today. Let's start with the cooler. Beautiful. Unfortunate for the 135mm fan, but it just has to go. I really want to keep the whole build as white as humanly possible. Oh yeah, I completely forgot. I stole the Wi-Fi card from here. I needed it for another build. I don't even remember really which one it was, but I needed it somewhere. I just hope that is not going to bite me in the ass today. SSD installed. Let's continue with the cooler. Oh, I hate these backplates where you have 3 individual positions.
1 hour later.
I found it. Gray screws, center position. Oh yeah, I remember this. Who thought this would be a good idea? Now I need to keep it in position without really seeing if it is in position. It's like the dumbest way of mounting this. Okay, I believe this should be somewhat correct. Yay, try number 3 is finally a success. Ta-da! Finally! Now some of that beautiful little rhyme here. You know what? For a change, I'm going to make use of these low noise adapters that come included in the box. I don't think we need them, considering I can also just set a fan curve. And 3. That looks like some serious cooling right there. This is going to perform great. Before we slap this into the big one, I'm going to make use of another feature that I read about this case. And it's something we already saw on Cooler Master cases, I believe, where you have basically a minimum amount of screws to remove the top panel here, which makes installation of motherboard, of top fans and all that kind of stuff a bit easier. Now, oh well, 2 screws, that was all it took. 2 small screws. So yeah, basically now we have a lot more access up here, giving us, more access. What other could I tell you? But let's just open the back of the case and see where the bag of installation goodies is, because I need the screws. As usual, it is hidden in the back where the hard drives are going to go. And I see we get a set of spare spacers, which I guess is for E80X support, but what I need are the screws for the motherboard. And we got included in the box a 1, 2, 3 3-pin splitter. Oh no, the fans are voltage controlled, aren't they? Yes, yes they are. They are all voltage controlled. Not my favorite thing. Anyway, I guess let's put this into the big one. Oh boy, this cooler is heavy. And building PCs that are standing is in general not recommended. Oh no, not all of the spacers are installed from the get-go. I need to install more.
1 hour later.
Woo! That was a mission. Are all the screws in? No, one is missing. And this cooler right now with all of this stuff on top of it is so damn heavy that I prefer to, for once, install install everything, every screw, according to, manual. Okay, I guess all of this is ready. I gotta say, I'm less disappointed about the color mix of the heatsink covers in the top and the gray-white whole mix. I'm less disappointed than I thought I would be. It's actually okay. It's really okay. Especially because the motherboard has basically every shade of gray somewhere, so it does blend in quite well. But I'm just trying to figure out right now how I'm going to route all of these cables, because there is no hole in the top here to get the cables to the back. So I essentially have to route everything to the left or right and then go to the back from there, which is not my favorite thing, but I really can't do anything about that. And this cable, oh god, yeah, it's coming out in between the RAM. So it's like no matter what I do, it sucks. Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. For now. Maybe later we can figure something else. Okay, where are we? I wanted to remove the back fan and replace that one with one of these Arctic P14s in ARGB. I gotta say, despite like some quality concerns I have for the moment, working in it is quite easy. You have a lot of space once you remove the top, like really a lot. Ooh. White and shiny. And I generally just love these P14 fans from Arctic. Like their performance is just amazing. And I'm not sure why they are so much better than, for example, regular P14s. There is a difference in between regular P14s and the P14 ARGBs. Just as there is a difference in between P12 and P12 ARGB, which is notably the ring around. And in our case benchmarks, I found that this ring can change a lot, because it really helps to guide the air towards a certain thing. And I can just see... Oh wow, I need to remove this, all of the screws basically. Okay, let me show you this. I hope you can see it to some degree. So you have like double rails, one for 120, one for 140, and everything is to the biggest extent usable. So it's not like 140 is just a 120 with additional cover around. So 140 makes sense here, but you have the rail in the back for 140, which is divided into multiple like positions. You have a short line, then just a small little hole, and then a longer like slit, and the same in the bottom. So I can move that 140mm fan around quite a lot, and I'm going to move it to the most bottom possible position to have it work with the CPU cooler as much as possible. It doesn't go any lower than that. And this will perform. I guess I could even now not use the top fans and this would perform perfectly fine. I'm almost certain of that. But we're going to use it anyway because for the fun of it. Okay, where do we stand now? We have the top panel where I can slap in 3 additional fans. But before I do that, just like a very quick thing, I'm going to pre-connect the top 8-pin EPS because it will make my life a lot easier if it is already exactly where it needs to be for later. Ta-da! Perfect. Yeah, the 8-pin EPS in braided is like the most useless thing in every build because you basically never see it anyway. It's kind of just a lost cable and lost money in that case. But let's prepare the top 2 fans, the exhaust here and exhaust here, and I guess then we are very close to being finished. There is the panel. Oh, and no, there is no performance difference between a regular P14 and a P14 ARGB. Of course there is none. It's the same fan. I'm saying P14 ARGB white and P14 ARGB black. There is no difference between the two. It's essentially the same fan in white. This is some serious air. Stay there for a minute. Just for a minute, please. Oh no, I installed the fans now as intake. I should really get some more sleep. Better. Now they are exhaust. Okay, where are we? The GPU is still missing, power supply, and then a bit of cable management, I suppose. I guess let's start with the power supply. So this is that Polar power supply that I have lying around for months, waiting to be just used with this case, because it is as white as the case. Now one thing I don't know, actually, is if the cables are already white, which isn't common, but I don't see why that would not be possible. Oh, this is heavy. Oh yeah. And the funny thing is, this thing has a automatic fan stop until 40% load, which if we do the calculation with our 4070 and the 3900K, well, I guess the fan will never start in the first place. Doesn't bother me particularly, I'm fine with that. And no, we got black cables only. So we need PCIe for the GPU. That's double PCIe. This is the 8-pin EPS. We need the 24-pin. Do we need SATA power? We need SATA power. Yay. I love SATA power. Everybody gotta love SATA. Look how many SATA powers I get for me requiring like only one single. Yay. And I'm going to use another single PCIe for something I have. Oh, this is beautiful. And also again, like white, gray, gray. It's coming together. Okay, now let me just check something quickly, because in the back of the case we still got that bracket for the hard drives. And I think I would like to remove it. It's not removable. Is it really hard fixed? No. No, that thing is hot mounted. That's bad. I hate that. Well, I gotta work with what I got, so I'm going to slap it in anyway. And I just guess that Cougar didn't fuck this up and this should fit in there without a problem, which apparently it does. It's not that, but I would have loved to remove that. That really does kind of suck. Well, I mean, at least we got the nice matching color in the back, I guess. It does kind of annoy me. You know what, let me do some quick cable management and then we will install the GPU and the one last component that I mid-build decided to slap in the bottom. So, yeah. And ta-da! Cable manage. Now before we finish this up but before we finish this build up, I have another little addition that I wanted to throw in. I forgot to turn on this light. Oh yeah. Now, before we finish this up, I have another little addition I wanted to throw in before we finish it. And I'm talking about the new Lee Uni TL LCD 120mm fans in reverse, because although it will not make so much sense in here, but we have the two 120mm fan spots in the bottom, and the first one is basically 100% or 90% covered by the PSU, so it doesn't really matter. The second one, let's say it's like 3/4 empty, or you can maybe see with the screwdriver, I can go through there, and here I'm hitting the PSU. However, in the bottom, the fabric dust filter ends somewhere here, so it's not like they are going to be the most amazing fans in there, but they are going to help to guide some air into the GPU, or in the very least, it will look cool. I guess I actually just wanted to look cool. So I'm going to add these two, then the GPU, and then we are basically done with this. Yeah, let's have a look. And thankfully, or not necessarily thankfully, but necessary, and it is kind of necessary that Cougar added the 120mm radiator screws, because that's how you install these fans. Am I sure that those are like the right screws? Because they don't seem to take the thread. The holes in the bottom, I think, are unthreaded. So I believe I need to like really cut through there. Make my own thread as I go. Thread done. I'm just going to go like the easy route today and just do like 3 or 4 screws, because I don't really need more. Yeah, let's add a last one in the back, and then we are good. Note to self, if you want to add bottom fans, do it before you add anything else into the case, otherwise you will just not get it in there. Incredible. Whew. Okay, almost everything done. Last piece that we need to fit in is this ridiculously tiny GPU. Like, I undersized that poor thing by like twice the form factor. This could be like twice as big and still fit. I need more GPUs. Okay, time to close it. Why is that glass so dirty? No, it's dirty from the inside. Let's enjoy the show. I know, way too small GPU. I know it, but what can I do? But overall, I am quite happy how this build looks. Like, the whole grayish, blackish, whitish thing is really cool. The GPU does fit really well. And I can already tell you that there are no like air restrictions right here. This works very well. So I am quite glad how all of this turned out. However, I do realize how ridiculously small that goddamn GPU is, and it should be like here. It should be like a 4090 sticking to the front, paired with the 14700K that would have made it, or 13700K? Did I install a 14 or 1300K in here? No, 13700K. Okay. Anyway, a few miniature thing to mention. The front fans are significantly less loud than I expected. I'm going to say that. Kudos, and the fans on the heatsink are also significantly less loud than I expected or anticipated. However, because I installed that like RPM limiter on there, it's not really shocking, but still, I know how loud they are without the RPM limiter, so it's okay, it's quite nice. So I'm happy with how all of this turned out. However, I'm not going to talk about temperature numbers, because we are at like 3 hours of raw A-roll footage for this whole build, because it's a giant freaking case. So I decided to split the video into 2, because the next thing I wanted to do is measure temperatures inside of this thing to determine how well it cools, because I know how plus minus this cooler cools outside of a case. So now I can measure it in here and then determine if the case is somewhat restrictive, and or open all the panels and see what changes. And the main thing I wanted to do is replace the glass front panel with this mesh one, just to determine if you have like an oversized cooling, if having mesh in the front actually matters to such a degree that we all believe. Like, I know having having mesh in the front is really important. However, I also know, me using a Fantex Evolve Evo case, if you have a giant 60mm, 80mm radiator in the front, having just a gap to breathe through isn't that much worth talking about, because you are so oversized on cooling, and I believe this is also oversized. So I wanted to measure just how this thing cools on different fan settings, and then replace or swap out the mesh panel and see if anything changes at all. I believe it won't by such a degree, or maybe it will, who knows, we will see about that. However, the little surprise that I got from Arctic I will also keep for the next video, but I will talk about it because it's an external fan, like an Arctic P12 external to put on your desk, which is quite cool. And I'm just going to blow some air into it and see if it changes anything, but we're going to see about that. But for today, this is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed how this build looks, and please don't tell me in the comments that the GPU is too small. I know that the GPU is so small, but I don't have any contact with Zotac for a bigger one. I need to buy my GPUs, like everybody else, and they are very expensive. But it's kind of cute little thing. Like the cooler is almost as big or as long as the GPU is. Funny. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to continue watching, have a look at the video where I built inside that prototype case, which was also quite the wild ride, but it was more wild than this. This was more enjoyable, 100%. But for today, this is going to be it. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.